John Davis Beresford was a British writer known for his influence on William Olaf Stapledon. Born in 1873, the son of clergyman John James Beresford and Adelaide Elizabeth Morgan, his father served in Castor in Cambridgeshire. At the age of 3 he suffered from polio and was lame for the rest of his life. His father found his name less embarrassing and refused to fund his education, John attending Ungro School. He was married to Florence Linda Brown, who died in 1916, and to Evelyn Roscombs. He died in 1947. As a writer, his The Hamptonshire Wanderer influenced Olaf Stapledon, while George Orwell said Beresford was a natural novelist. Today we will review his 1918 collection, 19 Impressions. Cutthroat Farm is the short but grim story of a man going on vacation to a farm in the country, deep within a valley of trees towering over him like the Valley of Death. And while at the farm, all the poor emaciated animals disappear one by one, while the farmer keeps sharpening his knife. And then one day there are no more animals. The criminal concerns the trial of the most heinous criminal in British history, and of how no one is able to give the same description of the man twice. Flaws in the time scheme are 3 stories based on similar lines. An effective reincarnation as a man discovered that in a past life he was Thomas Bilney, an English martyr burned at the stake. And he starts being so annoying and automatically disagreeing with everything his friends say, they tell him to shove off. So he becomes a missionary in China. A case of prevision has Mr. Jessop leave the office due to a weird case of visual hallucination. One day he is wandering the countryside with Mr. Galt, when he insists that there was a landslide ahead. Galt sees nothing of the sort, and bullies Jessop to go ahead anyway. And after a few days he does, just when there really was one. In The Late Occupier, a man's mind is cast back in time due to the ceaseless prattle of his friend, and he sees the desperate siege of a man occupying his house, long after he was to be thrown out, hanging on until the bitter end. The little town has the narrator wind up in a small town, and wandering out at night, and after an impossibly long descent down a hill, he comes to a strange theatre, observing a bizarre puppet performance, of which he can make nothing out. The Lost Suburb is the story of a man's search for a house he once glimpsed as a child, being cast in his mind back in time to observe the story of the occupier, an old man in a strange mask, hiding away at all times in his house, from an old bailiff with an even older, long-defunct writ. In The Escape, Albert Higgs, feeling beset at work, lies down sick and, after a lifetime of petty grievances, and bothering about trivialities, views the full expanse of the world and the cosmos. Force majeure concerns George Coleman, and how a woman now dead and an annoying dog that she left him led to the man falling out of a window, and later to his friend running from the room Coleman once occupied, desperately plugging his ears. The Empty Theatre has a man on a beach during a storm hear a phantom confession of falsehood. The Misanthrope has a man build himself a shack on a rock offshore because he can't stop looking at people over his shoulder and seeing them deformed by their vices and weaknesses. Powers of the Air has the narrator evoke the terrifying power of the dark forces taking over the air once the light no longer shines, though his worries are proven false at the end. Lost in the Fog has a man wind up in a dead-end train station and being told of the ceaseless slaughter taking place between the local families, where laws or orders simply do not exist. Some of the fantastic stories are rather good, though I left out some trifles, such as the story of an exceedingly good batch of marmalade.